Ready, set, go. All right, so welcome back. What we did in the last one, we just kind of, we have an image imported. We're now making boxes over top of it. And if I wanted to just run that one more time, you'll see maybe for a split second my face before it gets covered by the boxes that are kind of gradiating out. Now remember, we're trying to make it kind of like a Chuck Closey kind of thing. So what we want to do here is be able to color those boxes. And remember, we can do that just by coming in and giving a color to it. If I wanted to, I could even do a fill here and say, I don't know, random 255, and that should make that fill color be all kinds of different random black and white boxes. But we want there to be some image data that we're pulling from that image and then some way kind of manipulating it and transferring it so that we can kind of make this kind of pointillist or this kind of impressionist kind of painting with it. It doesn't necessarily have to be boxes, but we can do it in lots of different ways. And I hope you're all going to be creative with it. In this case, though, what I want to do is I want to make it so that I'm pulling the color from it. So I've made ready, set, go. This must be like take 4, 5, 6. I don't know. I've lost total count of where I made my mistake on this. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get these to be colored. And I kept making a tiny little mistake that I'm going to show you in just a moment. Well, I won't show you all the mistakes. But right now, if we look, we've got this this example where we're doing this for loop and we're making all these boxes and then the rest of the loop is being counted up. There's a couple of things that were a little hiccup, but I think we have them all figured out until the next one. All right, so what we're going to do here is we need to sample the image that is behind here each time it goes through this loop. And we want to sample it and try to make it so we can color all the boxes. Now, if we're not sure how to do these things, the first thing we want to look for is we want to make sure we go to the reference. So here I'm jumping into the reference. I'm going to the image section of the reference. And what I'm really looking for here is I want to be able to load the pixels into it. So there is a pixels one which doesn't give you what you want. The blend one's really for multiple images if you're kind of trying to blend different images, and it'll blend the pixels as you go. Copy, there's a use for that. But I thought at first maybe we would use the load pixels. Now, this actually isn't a bad way to do it. And I think this, I'm going to mention it really quickly here, is that we could actually load all the pixel information into this array that they have set up here. And then with that array, which is just a big data structure of holding all that information, we could probably then map it and maybe add additional elements to it so that we could then maybe sort all the pixels by color, or so we can make each of the pixels go in the right order for a rainbow, or maybe have them push one way or the other. This would be a cool thing to do. I have experimented with this in the past. It tends to be kind of a slow process. So it's not as you run it and then maybe you grab a cup of coffee and come back by the time it's done doing all of that stuff. So I don't want it to be that one. I want us to still focus on the going for the close to Chuck Close kind of interpretation. And that one we can do just with boxes and colors, and we can do it with for loops and still pulling the data into our own little data structure. But we're going to do it that way. All right, enough about the wrong way to do it. Let's now talk about the way that we are going to do it. We're going to use this idea of using get. Now, I started doing this, and then I made this wacky little error that I don't see. Let me see, is there an example here? There's not a good example here. So when I was starting to explain this one and trying to show it off, I fell into the trap of the reference not quite giving me the right answer, which is so rare. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use this get command. But I need to make sure I'm getting not just from the screen itself, I need to make sure I'm getting it from the image. So in order to do that, I need to use my image variable. My image variable is right here. So in order to get my color and use this variable that I made for get color to hold that pixel level color, I need to down here inside of my function, as it steps through and goes across and then down my image, I need to tell it at this box or in this area to get the color from the image, not just from the screen. If I use just the get command by itself, which is the example that is here, then I will get whatever the color is that's on the canvas at that time. And I don't want that. I want it to actually be the image, the color from the image. So to do that, I am going to use my get color. Let me try and move that up just a teeny bit for y'all. Get color, but I want to do it from, I'm going to set get color, that color. I'm going to do it from the image.get. And where in that image do I want to do it? Well, I want to do it from one point and keep moving across and moving across and moving across. So right now I have an X value and I have a Y value. So let's use both of those when I do it. Now, if I were to run this one right now, I'm going to get something very much the same as it was, and that is because I'm not really filling any of those rectangles with the color that I'm getting. What I need to do here is I need to now use this get color instead of for that random color that I have it filling with right now. I need to put that get color in there instead. So now when I run this particular one, and let me get my face out of the way, get my face out of the way of the face, you can see that I've now kind of run it and made it so that it looks very pixelized. It's sampling a color from each of those areas and then just filling a big box that works for that. And at this point now I could kind of play with it and say, well, let's make these maybe 10, 10, so my step now is smaller. And now when I create that same thing, I'm getting that same kind of pixelation, but it's doing it on boxes of 10. So this number that I'm using as I do this loop, I have to change it in 1, 2, 3, 4 places right now, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to create a variable for that so I can just do one change up at the top of my program, and then I can easily just kind of mess with it from there. For the moment, I'll do one more run with it just where it is. If I say 30 here, I'll make my rectangle a little bit different. If I say 30 here and run it, it's kind of overlapping them. But let me try something even a little bit more radical. Let me use my mouse X here. Mouse. Remember, that's getting where the mouse location is. What happens if I just do it like that? Now, see, I'm really experimenting here. I'm not sure what I'm doing here really makes any sense. Oh, I need this to be mouse X plus 1. Oh, did I just... So save early and save often, boys and girls, because right now I've just created a loop that just can't quite end. My loop here is trying to advance the mouse X, but since my mouse was to the left of my display screen here, as I did a for loop that went to, oh, let's move it over further, maybe it'll add up. I'm going to try to wait this out. As my mouse, as this for loop tries to go forward, it can't because it's only stepping 0 mouse degrees forward because 0 is where my mouse was before. So I thought this recording was going so well until I created my own infinite loop of doom. All right, let's see. I think it's going to have to give up and I'll have to reload it. So make sure you're saving early, saving often. And here I'll show you what happens. I'm going to say exit the page. There it is. Try to do a reload. Let's see when's the last time it actually auto-saved. 3, 2, 1. Let's see, what's it got? Oh, well, it's not that bad. It's not quite that long ago. So here I could still do that one if I wanted to adjust it. What I should have put in here is mouse X plus 1, so it had to at least do mouse X plus 1. If I did that as my step, there. So however big my mouse is how it's going to do it. Let's just avoid this whole piece together. But it's probably good to see the mistakes as we go. So let's see if we can get just this far to get it to be pixelized. And then once we've got it this far, we'll add in and modify these variables and go a little bit further. But right now we've got it sampling color data and filling up boxes and rectangles for it. And even if you wanted to, you could probably change this to an ellipse, or if you wanted to kind of play with it already. Here you can see now it's making it out of all those circles. And I could even now in theory, get rid of that image in the background and only make my face out of circles and go from there. So this is where the fun begins, and you can really start to see where if I change these numbers and start playing around with it a little bit, you can see now I'm kind of more circular, pointillistic kind of thing. So catch up to me right now. Let me scroll my code down, or if you want to see the other chunk. But I've really just kind of simplified it. That is all of the code right there that is doing it from there to the end of draw. So tune back in for the next one in just a moment.